Sunday dinner was lamb roast and condescension. She made both with the same level of effort. I was cutting the meat when our son asked why he had to do dishes when his sister never swept. Innocent stuff. The kind of mini-debates families have when everyone's pretending to be normal. I calmly said, "Because I asked you, bud. We'll talk about it later." And that's when she couldn't help herself. Elbows on the table, wine glass twirling like it was opening night at the opera, and that smirk, the same one she used on waiters, and now, apparently, on me. Let's be honest, he's not a real man. Just like that, tossed out like a napkin with lipstick on it. Our daughter blinked. Our son froze with a green bean half raised to his mouth. No one moved. And I swallowed the bite I was chewing, dabbed the corner of my mouth with a napkin, and said nothing. I didn't argue, didn't flinch, didn't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. That's always what she wanted, a reaction, a fight, something to validate her role as the poor wife of a man who just doesn't get it. She thought silence was weakness, but in that silence, something shifted. Not broken, just unlocked. Later that night, while she was in the living room laughing a little too hard on speakerphone, probably with Chloe, the one friend she kept around because she needed someone slightly more toxic than herself, I walked into the garage, unlocked the fireproof safe, took out a folder wrapped in an old university sweater. Inside, the blueprint. It started 4 years ago, after the first time she threatened to take everything if I didn't grow a spine. Back then, I thought it was just anger. Now I know it was foreshadowing. I began mapping contingencies. Slowly, quietly, I talked to people, old mentors, my parents' estate attorney, even a retired IRS agent I played golf with once who had this haunting phrase, "The only defense is already being gone when the bullet's fired." I took that to heart. Trusts, custodial accounts, ownership transfers, asset shielding. I never thought I'd use it. Honestly, I hoped I wouldn't have to. But when someone humiliates you in front of your children, makes a performance of emasculating you, then goes back to sipping Merlot like it's just another day, you stop hoping. You start executing. You know, over 90% of people listen to stories like this without subscribing. If you're one of them, take 2 seconds to hit subscribe. It's what helps my team bring more justice-driven stories like this to life. Alright, let's keep going. By midnight, she was asleep with her mouth half open, and one leg tossed dramatically across the blanket, like a soap opera villain passed out after poisoning someone. I stood in the doorway for a moment. She had no idea that not a real man had just finished the first move in a 10-step play that would dismantle her reality. She thought manhood was noise, volume, retaliation, but some men don't raise their voice. They just raise the floor beneath you until you realize you're standing on a trapdoor. And by the time you hear the click, it's too late. Monday morning didn't start with vengeance. It started with espresso. She was still upstairs, putting on her usual mask of performative motherhood, shouting for the kids to brush their teeth, asking them what they wanted in their lunchbox even though she'd already decided. Meanwhile, I pulled out of the driveway like any other day, except I didn't turn toward work. I turned toward a small cafe just off Main Street, a quiet place with terrible scones and decent privacy. I parked by the side entrance and walked in, scanning the booths until I spotted him. Mitchell Hargrave, old, gray, and sharp as a rusted scalpel. The man had handled my parents' estate like a chess grandmaster, knew the tax code like he wrote it. When he retired, I kept his number, just in case. He looked up as I approached and didn't bother with pleasantries. "You look like a man who found the last straw," he said, sliding over a folder. I sat down, didn't order anything, and opened the manila envelope. Inside were the alternate filings, the draft custodial entity documents, the trust amendment orders, all templated, all waiting. "I'd like to execute the alternates we discussed," I said, flatly. He didn't blink. "Which ones?" "All of them. No emotion, no bitterness, just surgical precision. If I was going to do this, it wasn't going to be in anger. That's how you lose." I'd seen men destroy themselves trying to fight back with fire, but I wasn't fighting anymore. I was removing. By 10:27 a.m., the paperwork was notarized, scanned, and sent. The 529 plans, 2 of them, set up years ago, were rerouted into a separate custodial structure. New grantor, me. New oversight, Mitchell's firm. New beneficiary terms, locked. She was still listed in the family trust as a co-contributor. That gave her visibility, once. No longer. Now she couldn't even log in without getting a permission denied screen. Her email? Removed from notifications. Her signature authority? Revoked. The kids' future education, something I'd quietly funded from consulting gigs and contract bonuses while she bragged about her Pilates certification, was now entirely outside her reach. I didn't do it to punish her. I did it to protect them. Because a person who can say he's not a real man in front of her own children isn't above weaponizing tuition when the divorce papers hit the table. She always assumed those college funds were joint assets. Why? Because they were sitting under the same roof. Because I didn't correct her. Because I didn't brag about what I was quietly building. She never once asked where the funds came from. Never once contributed. But she saw them as hers, because I didn't demand credit. Let her find out now. At 1:12 p.m., I received a confirmation email from the state registrar. The custodial entity was active. At 1:38 p.m., Mitchell sent a follow-up. Everything's in motion. She's off the table. You're fully firewall. And still, no calls from her. No idea. Back home that evening, she was scrolling through her phone on the couch, feet up, still in workout leggings, chewing gum like a teenager. Jason didn't finish his spelling homework, she muttered. I'm not dealing with it. That's your territory. She didn't even glance at me. Not a single clue that she no longer had the power to claim the future she took for granted. She kept talking. I kept listening. And silently, I kept crossing off the next item on my list. Tomorrow would be bigger, bolder. But today I'd made sure our kids would get their degrees, even if their mother never got another cent. The first time she ever threatened divorce, she did it with a glass of wine in one hand and a Real Housewives marathon playing in the background. She didn't even pause the episode. I swear, if you don't start making real money again, I'm calling my cousin's lawyer. That was 2 years ago. I remember it because she was wearing a silk robe she hadn't paid for, standing in a kitchen I remodeled with bonus checks she never acknowledged. And something about the way she said, my cousin's lawyer, stuck in my teeth. Not our lawyer. Not we'll talk. Her cousin, who sold real estate for the kind of people who eat inheritance for breakfast. That night, I sat in the garage and stared at my old notebooks. They weren't financial ledgers, not exactly. More like escape plans. Back then, I never intended to use them. They were hypotheticals, intellectual therapy. But that night, something shifted. I called my Uncle Henry, a former contractor who now lived out in Nevada and had a side gig setting up real estate holding companies for retirees and paranoid retirees in training. Set me up a structure, I said. Something quiet. Something that can hold residential assets. He didn't ask questions, just said, you finally getting smart? The next 3 months, I created a second living trust. Not a joint one, an individual trust. Ironclad, shielded under state-specific rules that made it virtually impossible to contest, thanks to the jurisdiction we used and the fact that the original capital came from an inheritance, not marital income. That was the trick. She always assumed everything was ours, because I let her think so. That's what peace looks like. You let them decorate the walls while you control the deed. The house, transferred quietly into a holding company under the trust. The mortgage was paid off the previous year, thanks to a consulting contract with a private client who didn't care if I worked in sweatpants. I moved the title like a surgeon cuts around nerves. Vehicles, paid in cash, then registered under an LLC connected to my cousin's now-defunct catering business. He lives in Florida, doesn't even drive anymore. DMV didn't care. Retirement funds? That took more finesse. But 2 years ago, I started a solo 401k under my consulting entity. She never even knew it existed. It now held more than our shared IRA ever did. Everything I did was slow, intentional, boring, the kind of paperwork that makes people yawn at dinner parties. But while she was reposting memes about alpha men needing to handle real women, I was fortifying walls she didn't know existed. I didn't do it out of hatred. I did it because I knew the weather would change someday. I didn't know when, but I knew the temperature in our home wasn't going up. It wasn't cold either. It was something worse, lukewarm contempt. The slow erosion of respect, disguised as passive-aggressive jokes and public smirks. The Sunday dinner comment didn't spark the fire. It just made me stop pretending I wasn't already holding the match. Now, as I sat in the same garage, folder open on the workbench, documents spread across an old poker table, I flipped through the structure I'd built. There it was. Her name didn't appear once. Not on the trust, not on the companies, not on the fallback clauses. If I died tomorrow, the kids would be covered by successor entities, with oversight from neutral parties I appointed years ago. She'd get nothing but a polite notification and instructions on how to return the keys. I remember staring at one particular form, the deed transfer notice with her signature missing, because it was never required, and thinking, she thinks she's clever. But clever isn't safe. Clever makes noise. I made structure. So when she sat across from me at dinner and mocked my manhood in front of our children, she wasn't talking to a man who needed her validation. She was talking to the architect of her own irrelevance. I folded the documents back into the folder, locked the safe, and slept like a man whose war was already won. Because this wasn't about reaction anymore. This was activation. Wednesday afternoon, she was late again. Not that it mattered. Being late was her brand. Overscheduled yoga, overpriced facials, brunches that turned into strategy sessions with that brittle clique of suburban influencers she pretended to hate but desperately needed approval from. She rolled into the daycare 10 minutes before closing, sunglasses on, phone in hand, wearing those ridiculous boots she claimed gave her executive energy. The front desk assistant, Kendra, barely 24, but with the polite backbone of someone used to handling high-conflict parents, smiled nervously. "Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. R. You're not listed as today's authorized pickup." The words hit like a slap dipped in honey. "What?" She laughed, pulling her glasses down. "It's me. I'm their mother." Kendra didn't flinch. "Yes, ma'am, but the system was updated this morning. Mr. R is the listed primary guardian now, and per policy, until this is clarified, I'll need a secondary ID and verbal confirmation from the primary contact." "I am the damn primary." "Not anymore," Kendra said quietly, glancing down at her monitor, then away. Like she didn't want to be involved in something nuclear. The kids were in the back, probably confused why Mom was standing at the front desk, waving her arms and fake smiling with that tone that always came before something cracked. She called me before she even got in the car. I answered on the first ring. "You changed the daycare records? Are you insane?" "No," I said calmly. "Check your email." Click. She hung up. 2 minutes later, another call. She didn't yell this time. She hissed. "You filed for custody modification?" "Correct," I said. "Filed at noon. State timestamps on the document." "On what grounds?" I paused. Let it breathe. Then, emotional hostility. "Documented." Silence. She was breathing through her nose. Probably pacing. Probably red in the face, staring at the screen while her carefully manufactured world tilted 2 degrees off its axis. "Are you joking?" she said finally. But it came out too quiet. Too unsure. "No. And before you ask, I'm not requesting full custody. Just realignment. Equal split. I've documented every time you've belittled me in front of them. I have the transcripts from Jason's counselor. And that birthday party video where you called me a man-child who can't afford a spine. You laughed. Remember? You recorded me. I didn't need to. You posted it on your story. Chloe tagged you. You thought it was hilarious." She didn't respond. "You turned the kids into an audience," I added. "You forgot they were also witnesses." Then I ended the call. Not rudely, not abruptly. Just enough to let her know the conversation was done on my terms. Back at daycare, I arrived 5 minutes after she left, signed the release, and walked both kids out quietly. Jason asked if Mom was okay. I said she's probably just surprised. And she was. But not in the way she expected. She'd built her whole identity on the assumption that no matter how far she pushed, I wouldn't push back. That I was safe. Predictable. Soft. What she didn't know was that safety can be an illusion, and predictability is a strategy. She thought we were in a marital spat. But this wasn't a spat. This was a campaign, and I had only just begun deploying phase 2. She stormed into her attorney's office like she was starring in a courtroom drama. Black blazer, oversized sunglasses, a latte she'd forgotten to drink, and all the righteous fury of a woman who thought she still controlled the narrative. "Ethan," she barked at the receptionist. "Tell Mark I need to see him now." Mark Lively, her high-end divorce attorney, well-reviewed, well-paid, and utterly unprepared, was already pacing his office like someone had pulled the rug out and found a safe full of snakes underneath. When she burst in without knocking, he didn't even look surprised, just furious. Phone still to his ear, he pointed at the chair across from his desk and mouthed, "Sit." "Now." She rolled her eyes, dropped her purse, and collapsed into the chair with the theatrical exhaustion of a woman wronged. "Yeah, I'm looking at it now," Mark snapped into the phone. "No, the entity is sealed. There's a firewall on the college funds. It's not joint, it's a single custodial transfer." He turned to her. "You didn't tell me about any of this." She blinked. "Tell you about what?" He ended the call, slammed the receiver down, and opened the file folder on his desk like it had personally insulted him. "This," he snapped, flipping page after page. "Dual trusts. Custodial lockouts. Premarital title on the vehicles. Home ownership transferred to a holding company last year, under a Nevada trust. She blinked again. Wait, what are you talking about? That's our house. No, it isn't. Not anymore. You signed off on the insurance renewal 6 months ago, when it was already under a shell LLC. It was a courtesy disclosure, not an ownership agreement. She shook her head, trying to process. But the college funds. Gone, he cut her off. Reassigned. Grantor changed. You're not even a contributor on paper. No access. No standing. That's illegal. No, he said, slapping down a copy of the statute. It's airtight. He planned this. Years ago, piece by piece. Probably started when you first threatened to leave. And you, he jabbed a finger. You walked in here like this was just going to be a few angry letters and a settlement check. It was just paperwork. We haven't even filed. You don't get it, he shouted, losing composure now. He's already filed a custody modification. And from what I'm seeing, it's going to stick. You gave him the rope. You practically crocheted the damn noose. She leaned forward, gripping the arms of the chair. You're supposed to fix this. You're my lawyer. And I'm telling you, we're walking into a financial buzzsaw. He took a breath, paced again. Then, more quietly, what did you say to him? She frowned. What do you mean? I mean, what flipped the switch? What triggered this? His voice had changed now. Not legal. Personal. Almost afraid. She looked down. Her nails were perfectly manicured. She stared at the glossy finish like it held the answer. We had dinner, she muttered. I made a joke. What kind of joke? I said he wasn't a real man. Mark stared at her, blinked once. You mocked your husband in front of your children, and now he's dismantling your position piece by piece. She tried to argue, tried to spin it. It was just a stupid comment. I didn't mean. Doesn't matter what you meant. What matters is that you underestimated him. She stood abruptly. This is insane. He doesn't do this. He's the quiet one. He's the one who folds laundry and apologizes when I slam doors. Mark folded his arms. Apparently, the quiet one just built a financial labyrinth around you. And now you're on the outside, banging on the walls. Her face finally cracked. Not tears. Not yet. But her hands trembled when she reached for her phone. She wasn't sure who she was calling. Her mother, Chloe, anyone who'd still play the game with her. Mark sat back down and started writing. We can still negotiate, he said, without looking up. But don't expect sympathy from a judge. Not when the paper trail makes you look like the bomb, and him like the man who finally ran out of reasons not to cut the wire. She didn't answer, because suddenly, for the first time in this whole unraveling, she wasn't angry. She was scared. That evening, after pacing her kitchen until her heels left tiny dents in the hardwood, she did what she always did when control slipped from her fingers. She called her mother. Not for comfort, for ammunition. Mom, he's losing it, she began, voice shaky but sharp around the edges. He's trying to freeze me out of everything. Custody, the house, even the college accounts. He's acting like this cold, robotic psycho. Her mother, Diane, answered like she always did. Dry, calm, half listening from some mahogany office, probably lined with vintage ledgers and family secrets. What did you say to him? The question threw her off. Excuse me. To make him do all this. What did you say to trigger it? I didn't say anything. I mean, I just made a joke at dinner, and he took it personally, like always. He's being insane. There was a pause. Not the sympathetic kind, the calculating kind. And you're telling me he's filed for custody modification, transferred college funds, and rerouted property? Yes. He's trying to erase me from our lives like I'm some stranger. Another pause. Then her mother asked one question. Simple. Surgical. What did you sign before the wedding? She froze. Mom, what? You heard me. The silence on the line stretched like an exposed nerve. We didn't, she said, voice suddenly smaller. We never did a prenup. We were. She stopped herself before saying in love, because even she didn't believe that anymore. It wasn't necessary back then. He barely had anything. It was all mine at first. Her mother went very quiet. She could practically hear the chair creak as Diane sat back. Fingers no doubt steepled beneath her chin like she was staring down a miscalculated stock portfolio. You never signed a prenup, she repeated, as if trying to understand whether her daughter had suffered head trauma. We didn't think we needed it. No, Diane said flatly. You didn't think you'd ever be on the losing end. You thought he was harmless. You thought you could run the show, and he'd be too grateful, or too stupid, to fight back. That's not fair, she muttered. Fair? Diane snapped. Let me tell you what's not fair. Watching a man quietly build an asset fortress around you while you brag on social media about how he still folds your laundry like a good boy. You thought he was soft. What he was patient. But He can't just take everything. Oh, sweet girl, Diane said, with zero sweetness. He didn't take anything. He protected what was already his. And if he structured it right, which it sounds like he did, you're not even in the room anymore. You're across the street peering through the blinds. There was a strange sound in the back of her throat. Not quite a sob, more like her pride choking on itself. I need to fight this, she insisted. Diane didn't answer immediately. Then, what are you going to fight with? She didn't have an answer. No legal standing on the trust. No claim on the restructured assets. No documented income of her own that wouldn't wilt under discovery. Even the car she drove was leased under his consulting company, something she'd always mocked as his little side hustle, while she posted motivational quotes about independent women don't need no man. Her mother continued, now softer, but not gentle. Never gentle. If he's already moved his early retirement accounts into a protective structure, and you're not listed on the governance agreements, you'll be lucky if the judge lets you keep your jewelry box. That's not true. Do you even know what structures he used? What state the trust is filed in? Who the named successor trustees are? I didn't ask, he never said. Exactly. The silence this time wasn't awkward. It was damning. I suggest you stop complaining and start apologizing. Not performatively. Not with tears. You find him. You talk. You salvage what you can. But he hates me. Probably, Diane said. But hating someone doesn't mean they're unreasonable. It just means they're finished pretending. Click. No goodbye. Just the soft hum of a call ended. She stood there, staring at the wall, suddenly aware of how quiet the house was. The wine rack glinted mockingly across the room. The framed photos on the mantel, family vacations, holiday cards, felt like staged lies now. Little museum pieces of a woman who had no idea the man beside her was building an escape hatch under their life. No prenup, no fallback, no idea what else he'd already done. And for the first time in her life, she realized something terrifying. All the power she thought she had never been hers. She chose a cafe she thought would soften him. A place with overpriced tea, acoustic guitar music looping in the background, and the smell of vanilla that screamed, we're just two civilized adults having a conversation. A public space where she assumed he'd stay small, manageable, contained. She got there first, perched at a window seat like she was staging an Instagram post. Hair curled just enough. Makeup calibrated to say concerned but still glowing. She even ordered his favorite herbal tea, as if muscle memory could patch what manipulation had torn. When he walked in, she noticed it instantly. The difference, not just in his posture, more grounded, spine straighter, but in the fact that he wasn't alone. The man with him looked calm, older, and carried a leather briefcase he didn't set down. She blinked. Who's this? This is Thomas. He's a certified family mediator. You said you wanted to talk things through as a family. I figured it was best to have someone neutral in the room. She laughed, too loud, too forced. What? You thought I was going to throw a chair at you? No, he said. I thought you'd talk in circles. I don't have time for circles anymore. She went still, her smile twitching. So this is a legal meeting? It's a clear one, he replied. Then sat, calm, unshaken, not once looking at the tea she'd ordered for him. Thomas opened a folder and began noting the time, date, and purpose of the meeting. She tried to break the formality. Can we just talk, please? I'm still your wife, not a hostile witness. But it didn't land. Not on Thomas. And definitely not on him. He waited for the opening pleasantries to finish, then calmly pushed a sealed envelope across the table. What's this? Documentation, he said. She opened it slowly, like she knew it would bite. Inside, printed records. Text messages she'd long forgotten. Screenshots from her private Instagram where she'd captioned a photo of him asleep, with my third child face with rolling eyes. She kept flipping. A printout from a group chat with her friends. She'd called him a walking flannel-wrapped embarrassment who cries during Pixar movies but can't hold down a real job. Then a still frame from a party 2 years ago. Her on a friend's back patio, cocktail in hand, mimicking his voice in front of a small crowd while everyone laughed. And at the bottom, a QR code. What is this? Play it, he said. She scanned it with shaking hands. The video loaded instantly. Her, drunk, at a New Year's party, holding court like she was auditioning for a reality show. I mean, honestly, he's not even a man, he's a utility. He changes light bulbs and folds laundry. That's his personality. Laughter in the background. She waved dramatically. And don't get me started on bedtime intimacy. He has all the passion of a thermostat. And even that resets itself. Her face went pale. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. You recorded me, she whispered. He He tilted his head, calm. You posted it. Your friend Liv tagged you. You deleted it the next morning. But I don't forget when someone laughed while carving me open. She dropped the phone onto the table, hands trembling now. You kept all this? What? You taught me to be quiet, he said. I just learned how to listen better. Thomas didn't interrupt, just kept notes. She tried to recover. This is character assassination. This is petty. This is... No, he cut in, his voice still low. This is a pattern. This is context. This is why I filed for custody modification. Why the assets are locked. Why I'm not entertaining reconciliation. Tears finally welled. Whether they were real or just strategic, even she wasn't sure anymore. I thought we could fix this. I'm not seeking revenge, he said, his voice never rising. I'm seeking boundaries. You're trying to erase me. No, he said, gently now. You did that. I'm just giving you what you said you wanted. She blinked, confused. What do you mean? You once said, I wish you'd disappear so I wouldn't have to pretend I respect you. You said it to Chloe, remember? On speakerphone. In our kitchen. The kids were upstairs. Her mouth opened, closed. I don't want to disappear, he added. I just want peace. And now that I've found it, you're not invited to disrupt it anymore. He stood, nodded once to Thomas, and walked out, leaving her staring at the envelope, the tea, and the version of herself she never thought anyone would hold her accountable for. The mediation room wasn't what she expected. She'd imagined something grander. Mahogany panels, an imposing judge in robes, some gravitas to match the war she thought she was about to win. Instead, it looked like a drab conference room at a Marriott. Fluorescent lighting, stale coffee, a table scarred with the ghosts of 100 other dissolving marriages. But she still walked in with her chin up, wearing her tailored blazer like armor, her lawyer at her side like a sword she planned to swing. He was already seated, calm, no tie, just a neatly pressed shirt, and the same quiet eyes that used to fold to her moods like origami. Not anymore. Across the table, his attorney, a man she didn't recognize, nodded politely, then immediately opened a leather folder and began arranging documents with a kind of surgical boredom, like he'd done this 100 times, like she was just another file to be closed. Her attorney, Mark, leaned forward, clearing his throat like he was preparing to drop a bomb. We're requesting fair spousal support, considering the duration of the marriage and her standard of living during that time. In addition, my client is seeking 50% of the marital home's equity, as well as joint decision-making rights over the children's college funds. He leaned back like he'd just served a clean ace. His attorney didn't even blink. He slid a heavy manila folder across the table. We anticipated that, he said, calmly. Here's a full breakdown of asset origin, transfer records, notarized documents, and trust structuring. You'll see that every major asset in question is either premarital or independently structured prior to any filing. Mark opened the folder and stopped talking. Inside was a stack of hell, the house, purchased under a separate entity before marriage, with documentation showing the mortgage was paid off using funds from a trust established with his late father's inheritance. She'd signed a disclosure waiver 2 years into the marriage. Witnessed, notarized. The vehicles? Technically leased under a corporate LLC, again, predating the wedding. The retirement accounts? Structured under a solo 401k through his consulting firm, with a protective clause barring spousal claims, backed by state-specific exemptions. Even the damn savings bonds her grandmother had given the kids were in a custodial trust she hadn't been listed on in over a year. Joint items? Mark asked, voice quieter now. Inventories on page 7, his lawyer replied. A few furniture pieces, household electronics, and one shared checking account with less than $2,000. Everything else was independently structured with clear chain of custody. The mediator looked up at her. You've reviewed this with your attorney? This isn't. None of this was mine. We lived in that house. The judge, a woman in her 60s with reading glasses and no visible patience, cut in for the first time. Ma'am, this isn't about your feelings. This is about what was documented. I raised our children in that house, she snapped, voice rising. I kept the family running while he documented. The judge repeated, more firmly now. Or not. Mark leaned toward her, whispering something. She pulled her shoulder away, but her eyes were darting, page to page, line to line. She saw her name in exactly 2 places. Once in the initial trust disclosure waiver, and again in a text she'd sent saying, fine, if you want to handle the boring money stuff, go for it. That text was now part of an exhibit. The judge cleared her throat. Division recommendation is as follows, she said. Petitioner retains all premarital and independently structured assets. Respondent receives the 2017 Lexus, all personal belongings, and no claim to retirement or custodial trust accounts. Custody will follow the modified plan submitted last week, pending final review. She tried to speak again, mouth open, hands fluttering as if words could float above a pile of evidence and rescue her. The judge raised one hand. You may request a supplemental hearing if new material arises. Otherwise, I suggest you accept the current terms. I was his wife, she muttered, stunned. I gave him everything. You gave him mockery, his lawyers said evenly, and the illusion of control. He returned it with documentation. The room fell silent. She looked at him, really looked at him, hoping, maybe, for a flicker of mercy, nostalgia, regret. He didn't blink, didn't gloat, just waited for the papers to be signed. And when they were, she walked out with a thin folder, a heavier silence, and the realization that she'd just lost everything she once believed she controlled, all without a single raised voice. The caption was the first move. Men who weaponize money to punish good mothers are everything wrong with this world. Posted at 7:13 p.m., paired with a black and white selfie. No makeup, dim lighting, chin slightly tilted down like she was in mourning. The filters were subtle but strategic. Not grief, not rage. Innocence. That's what she was after. She hit upload, sat back, and waited for the validation flood. At first, it came. Heart emojis. A few automatic, "You're so strong," comments from women she hadn't spoken to in months. One distant cousin replied with, "Preach." Sending love. It lasted maybe 8 minutes. Then came the shift. Someone asked, "Didn't you mock him at that NY party? Wasn't there a video?" Someone else replied with the link. It had resurfaced again. The clip of her at that party, drink in hand, impersonating his voice in front of a crowd of snickering adults. "Oh, Jason," she'd slurred, mimicking him. "He's like Alexa, but with worse jokes and lower testosterone." Laughter. The video cut to her sitting on a lawn chair, saying, "Honestly, the only reason I keep him around is because he does the laundry without being asked." The comment section on that video exploded first. Then it spilled over to her post. Screenshots flooded in. Texts. Comments she'd made in old Facebook threads. Quotes pulled from her own captions. "You said he was your live-in house elf," and posted it with a crying laugh emoji. "Didn't you say you forgot he was even in the room half the time? Is this the same guy you called a flannel-shaped void?" People weren't kind. They weren't curious. They were surgical. The worst came from someone she used to brunch with, Dana, or maybe Danielle. She couldn't even remember. It was a single comment. "You used to say he was harmless. Quiet. Useless. Guess he was just quiet." Then, nothing. No one came to her defense. Even Chloe, her most loyal foot soldier, didn't like the post. The group chat she started to vent fell silent after the first hour. Then someone left. Then another. She texted 3 friends directly. One replied, "Hey, I thought you said he was just a stay-at-home dad?" That one hit, because that had always been her angle. That he was passive, non-threatening, someone who'd always be in the background, folding dish towels and picking up dry cleaning while she built an empire of curated aesthetics and performative self-worth. Now, she was the villain in a story she didn't know had an audience. The post stayed up for another 2 hours. Then she archived it. Not deleted, just hidden. That felt safer. Like denial in a bathrobe. By morning, her inbox was full. 2 brands had paused sponsorships. One wanted to reassess tone alignment. Her sister hadn't returned her call. The kids' school sent a polite but direct message asking if they could have a sit-down regarding ongoing custody restructuring and social media discourse. And then there was the envelope. Couriered. No return address. Inside was a single printed screenshot. Her caption, blown up in large font. "Men who weaponize money to punish good mothers." Underneath it, in smaller print, a typed note. "You had the stage. You chose the monologue. No name, no signature." But she knew. The worst part? He didn't even have to post anything. He hadn't commented, hadn't liked or shared a single thing. He just let her talk. And the more she did, the more the room emptied around her. Until the only voice left echoing in that empty social feed was her own. It was almost surreal. How the street still smelled like fresh-cut grass and the neighbor's dog still barked at passing bikes. Like the world had no idea her life was being boxed up just beyond the hedges. She parked 2 houses down. Didn't want to be seen. Didn't want the questions. The house, their house, stood exactly as it had the day they first moved in. Same blue shutters, same hanging porch swing she once joked made them look like Those boring couples who host wine tastings and talk about mulch. Except now there was a moving truck in the driveway. Two men in matching company polos were loading furniture into the back. But it wasn't the furniture that stopped her breath. It was the mailbox. The nameplate had been changed. Where it used to read, "The Rileys." In cursive script she insisted on back when appearances mattered more than oxygen. Now it simply read, "Crane Hollow Revocable Living Trust." She blinked, leaned forward in the seat, like her eyes were playing tricks. But it was real. The house was no longer a home. It was an asset. One with a name she didn't recognize and no entry point she could touch. Her fingers hovered over the phone screen. When he picked up, his voice was exactly the same as always. Calm, even, not cruel, just final. "Where are the kids?" she asked, trying not to sound as frantic as she felt. "With me. At the lake." "The lake? Why didn't you tell me?" "You can request visitation through the mediator. It's already on the schedule." She swallowed hard. "You're really going through with this?" "I already did." Silence. She stared at the house again. A framed family photo was being carried out now, one from Christmas 3 years ago. The kids were in matching pajamas. She was holding a mug that said Queen Bee and smiling like she believed it. He spoke again, softly, not unkindly. "You said I wasn't a real man, that I wasn't enough." Loudly, publicly, over and over. "So I stopped trying to prove you wrong, and I became something else." She squeezed the phone tighter. "You never raised your voice. Not once." "No," he said. "I didn't have to." She opened her mouth to argue, to say something, but nothing came, because there was nothing left to win. The car she drove was leased under a business she couldn't find on paper. The house she once decorated with catalogs and control was now owned by an entity with a name as cold as her own reflection. The children, the ones she'd claimed were her entire world on social media, were now living under a schedule she didn't design, enforced by a system she couldn't manipulate. She watched as the last of the boxes, labeled garage, winter clothes, was pushed into the back of the truck. One of the movers shut the door with a clang. And just like that, the door to her former life closed too. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just sat there in the car, engine off, hand on the steering wheel like she was still capable of going somewhere. The wind blew gently, brushing dead leaves across the hood. She looked at the mailbox one more time. Crane Hollow Revocable Living Trust. Not her name, not her house, not her story anymore. Only then did it finally hit her. The revenge she thought would come in fury and fire had arrived like snowfall. Quiet, absolute, and already done.